Welcome to the first episode of the Young Alphas Show. Today's guest plays on the wing for Exeter University. He is a BUCS national championship winner and hopefully soon to be professional rugby player. Kofi Barton Byfield, welcome to the show and thank you very much for being here.
Oh, well, lovely welcome. Thank you for having me.
First off, I just want to congratulate you again on winning the BUCS national championship final with Exeter University.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a big one.
It was such a tight and entertaining game. That scoreline was going back and forth between Exeter and Loughborough, and then in the 63rd minute, you scored that almost impossible try. And of course, I've watched that try on replay many times. But talk me through it. Talk me through the try itself. You received the ball, I think, just outside the 22, and then what happens?
Um, well, I think we've been playing for quite a few phases on that one. By this time, a lot of boys had kind of gone down. I know our two centres are both cramping on the other side of the pitch. And I got shot the ball out the back with effectively nothing outside me. So I just did what any good under nines player would do and tried to run around them. This time it worked, so I can knock it if it worked. But yeah, that
Yeah, I
was
mean,
pretty much my main mindset.
yeah, going back through it, you basically you outrun two players, two defenders, and then you step back into two other defenders, and you barely made it to the line. Like it was a very tight try.
Yeah, it was probably one of those ones where I've definitely got up and celebrated without having a clue whether I've scored it or not. Looking back at it, I did. The ball does touch the line, but in the moment, it's kind of one of those. If you celebrate loud and early enough, then it kind of gets the refs on your side a bit more. In all honesty.
Yeah, definitely. It was so yeah, it was such an exciting try, and at that point of the game, the crowd's cheering. I would say that try gave you and your team a psychological edge over Loughborough. Did it feel that way for you and the team?
It was I don't know. I mean, for me, obviously, it's a huge boost in my game and like the confidence I've got when you can score a nice try. But yeah, no, I don't know how much more motivation the team needed in terms of motivation. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good boost.
Because it certainly seemed that way from my point of view. The crowd was cheering very loudly. Even the commentators were all hyped up. So it felt like I think it gave you that extra boost.
I'll
Um,
take it.
so you're part of this winning team. You scored this amazing try. But let's face it, you've had a pretty amazing year all round because after the box final, you get selected to represent England basically at a university level, and you play in France, where you and a squad of the best university rugby players finally broke the 17-year-long streak of losing against the French team. What was that like? How must have that been?
Well, yeah, it's always good beating a French team. I know you'll hate that, but no, it was big. It was a big event going into that camp. The main ethos around it all was 17 years. Like it's been 17 years since we've won abroad. Um, let's change that. And yeah, no, the boys showed up. It was definitely a tough fixture. We didn't expect how they would play, to be honest. And I think the weather caught us all quite off guard because we did our camp up in Birmingham up north. The weather wasn't quite as we expected because obviously out in France it was a lot hotter. It caught us all very off guard. But yeah, it was a brilliant game to win. And I don't know, yeah, to get that first representation for countries, definitely it was a big achievement on my board of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say it's every schoolboy's dream to play for their country and get an international cap. And I think if I ever had one, I would sleep with it. So I'm curious to know where do you keep your cap? Where is it?
It's on my wall. I'm currently at uni, but it's on my wall at home, amongst the shirt. I've got the shirts that I play in, and then I've got the caps that go along with them. Um,
Oh, that's brilliant. That is
yeah.
very cool. So I want to talk a bit about like the league BUCS. If I'm not mistaken, that stands for the British Universities and Colleges Sport.
Yes, I think.
Um, yeah, and so basically, this is where all young men from all sports, not rugby, obviously, can. they have this opportunity to play their sport at normal level, but also elite level. Do you think it's a real pathway to professional sports? Because I mean, until recently, university age was considered a bit late to play professionally, especially with rugby. You come out of university, you're 21, 22, 23.
Mm. Well, I think it's first of all, like BUCS has got so many different leagues to it. So there's like kind of a level for everyone to play at, genuinely. That ranges from like the Exeter fives or below to our first team, which has got like a genuine professional players in. But no, I think I remember when I was in like academy rugby, there was a definite mindset of if you haven't made it out by 18s, you're kind of out. That's kind of out the pathway. And I think it's coming in more recently, probably like the like university contracts the Prem clubs are offering.
Yeah,
So I got offered one by Bath. However, didn't make it into the university, but even I can still I see players playing for uni coming to uni here who signed these contracts with ex Chiefs, where it's a uni dependent contract. They're signed on like the grounds that they're at the uni. So I think yeah, the pathway's definitely developed a lot more for rugby. Um, it's yeah, it's a really brilliant thing because you get to play at a really good level, and it's definitely a good intermediate step to professional rugby rather than throwing like young 18-year-olds straight in it.
yeah. Well, so basically, like the Bucks League, if you're playing that one of the top highest, like the Ace League, let's say rugby, it's a perfect hunting ground for professional teams to look for new talent.
Yeah, like all the universities get all the footage of all the games, and most of the universities in the Super Bucks League, which is the top 10, the top 10 play in. All of them are vaguely in either directly or vaguely linked to a Prem club, whether it's like Exeter Chiefs with Chiefs or Nottingham with Notts, and it's yeah. So I think everyone's there's definitely a good hunting ground for talent out there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Anyway, let's go back to you. Talk about you. So you've reached this pinnacle of your career to date, playing at elite and international level rugby. Now, I want to take you back a bit and talk about your journey, your backstory, how you got here, your influences, and basically where it all started. So when did you start playing rugby and where?
Oh, I would have been maybe about 11 or 12, which is kind of late for
That's quite old.
rugby.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of my friends start like kids wise. I was always the kind of small kid who always got nosebleeds. So I was always ruled out of boxing and rugby, but somehow found my way into it. Um, what was it? After one of my friends who played rugby, I was staying at his on sleepover, and then he had rugby the next morning, and I got tagged along and came back with a man of the game, man of the match trophy. So yeah, it was kind of that was my like stepping stone into rugby. That was Froome Rugby Club,
From rugby, yes.
my hometown, and yeah, and that was kind of how it started off, just doing playing there. I think I joined just the year when everyone started playing contact. Because obviously
Yeah.
below certain age you should do touch tag rugby, and so it kind of put me in a good time to jump in with everyone as well. So I wasn't too far behind, but yeah, I was just the fastest kid there, and it kind of went from there. What do you think? What came next? I think it would have been the like Bath development programs that they do,
Yeah.
where
I mean, you went to that. I mean,
that
you
was
did
next.
schoolboy rugby as well.
Well,
You did
like
downside.
the yeah, the Bath DPP setup, which is yeah, development player program, actually is what prompted me to end up at the school. Um,
Ah, okay. I thought it was the
because
other way around. Okay.
oh no, so I was in my usual setup playing rugby and was going to train with the big Bath setup where they pull all the local teams in the area, and it was then they yeah the training was held at the school, um, and where my mum bumped into the head of sport who mentioned about rugby scholarships, and then I tried out, and next thing I know, I was there for the next 5 years playing
Yeah.
rugby and doing growing up. So yeah, that was all how that kind of happened. Um,
So, what age did you join the Bath Developer Player Program, the DPP?
um, oh, that would have been. the youngest possible whenever it starts. I can't really remember exactly when that was, but I feel like how old are you in like year? How old are you in year eight? Did you say? What's
You're what, 12, 13?
12, 13? So probably about there is probably
Okay.
when I'd imagine. Yeah, and then so I joined that, and then every year it seems like they half the numbers and keep cutting you down
Yeah.
until there's literally about 30 of you left. And then out of that last 30, five or so get offered contracts,
Okay.
um, and then move on.
So, I mean, obviously, it must have felt great to get selected, at a local level with, other people taking your talent seriously, your rugby skill seriously. I'm interested to know, was that the first time you said to yourself, "Oh, you know what, Kofi, I might have a shot at doing this. I'm quite good because other people are taking my skill seriously. Maybe I should take my rugby seriously."
I think it was probably the first time I'd ever looked at a sport and gone like, I can really specialize in this. Because I did a lot of sports growing up. Like I was doing gymnastics for a long time. I was playing badminton. I was doing all sorts. And then I think rugby was the first one that I was like, well, I can if I put 100% into this, I could probably go with it. Um, but I don't know. It was very interesting. Like Bath, I felt Bath didn't really pay that much attention to me when I was there.
Oh,
Looking
really?
back, looking back on it, they probably did because I didn't get dropped. But every time they talked about dropping people, I thought I'd be the first to go. So it wasn't until I had like a literal contract in my hands that I was like, well, maybe this is is a potential career option, which was a lot later than I think a lot of
Yeah.
people would have expected. Because I just, frankly, just enjoyed playing, and yeah, that was what I was really bothered about.
All right. And so from the DPP, is that you then join Bath Academy? Well, you get selected from DPP to join Bath Academy. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then once you're there, you start playing games for Bath,
Okay.
effectively.
Well, let's talk a bit about that because after your A levels, you practically join Bath and you train with them during their preseason. You had the preseason camp with them in Farley.
hmm
Why? You spoke about it earlier on, but what exactly happened? Why aren't you at Bath at the moment? Why aren't you playing there?
Yeah, so I finished A levels and then started training effectively as a professional with them throughout that summer doing preseason. Um, and the contract I signed, like I'd mentioned before, was one of the university contracts. So it's like a scholarship contract. I don't know how I'd describe it best, but it is through the university that they pay it basically. So you have to be there. So I trained through with them through the summer up until results day, when I didn't I'd like missed by I don't even think it was a grade to get into Bath, and they spent a while going back and forth between the rugby and the university, seeing if they could get me in. I was given an ultimatum. I remember they told me I could keep my contract and go to Bath and do sports science, or um, or I could go carry on as I was and go to Exeter and do maths, which is what I was planning to do. I think thankfully I took the latter option,
Yeah.
because I don't think that would have panned out as well for me. But yeah, I took that, and then there was n nothing from Bath really. Did have a phone call for them to play in a Prem Cup fixture coming up
Yeah,
in
I
the next few
remember.
months, which I remember at the start I was quite excited about, but then kind of reading into it, I talked to my agent, talked to the coaches around here, and was advised not to play basically because like if they were going to sign me, they would have signed me, and that was it would have been I probably would have just been used as cannon fodder. Plus, I would have lost by like 80, 90 nil to Saracens.
Yeah.
So I think I dodged the bullet there, and well, it set me quite up well to working with Chiefs. So yeah, it was definitely a good one to dodge.
Yeah, I reckon was probably the better option. Um, so I mean that preseason you did with Bath, you played with some really good players, some players who play for England. What was that like meeting them for the first time, even maybe training with them?
Yeah, it was. it was definitely a big culture shock seeing how they train, um, and just kind of I think a lot of especially new signings and young people coming into it get hit with the wall of I'm really not as good as I thought I was. Uh, when when you see because I was training with who at the time would have been Joe Singer, Jonathan Joseph, Danny Cipriani, um,
Yeah,
Samisa
big names.
Rokoduguni, like
Yeah,
big names, and you're training with them, and like it's like they're coaches almost because of how much they understood they knew the game better than the people who've been coaching me for the past 5 years.
yeah,
So it was definitely interesting, but it's like it's you just got to take it as like it's a brilliant environment to learn, brilliant environment to develop, and yeah, that's kind of all you gotta and like try not to be like starstruck by them. Like they are just blokes at the end of the
yeah.
day.
That's
It's
true.
yeah, you just gotta treat them as normal.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point, honestly. Um, So on this show, we try to find in our guests, so trying to find in you what Anthony Robbins, he's a famous peak performance expert, calls the difference that makes all the difference. Um, I mean, you and I used to play together at Downside, and there were other good, talented players. What do you think set you apart from your competitors? What was the difference that made all the difference?
Hmm. That is tough to be fair. Difference made all my difference. I think, well, like, I know it's kind of a buzzword that's probably overused, but like having a USP, like that unique selling point, um, it definitely is a driving factor in that. Like when people look at my game, I remember as a like Burnsy, our head rugby coach, was always harping on about how like I always be the first defender or I'm like difficult to tackle, and like it was that kind of having like proper selling point of what people would want. But I think what it genuinely probably boils down to is how hard you want to work.
Yeah,
Like if you look at certain like, even professional athlete, like even Finn Russell taking for example, is not the most genetically gifted bloke. He's got
no,
he's got a pot belly. He's not the fittest, but he's got a skill set which no one matches,
yeah,
and that is through practice, through hard work. Like there's no born, he's not born being a fly half. And I think it is definitely just like how hard you want it, really, like how
yeah.
much you're willing to work. Um,
So just practice, practice, and practice. Yeah,
hmm yeah, practicing what you also need to be good at.
yeah. For
Like
your position.
there's probably it's quite poor of me to say, but there's probably like 18-year-old fly halves with better hands than me out there. There's definitely
Yeah.
with better passing, better kicking, but like for my position at wing, it's not my main selling point. It's not my main like yeah, my it's up to a good
Yeah, of course.
standard, but it's definitely not like you can't try and be 10 out of 10 in every area basically.
No. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Um, so at the Young Alphas, we're personal coaches, SSC coaches, and for us, the difference that makes all the difference is built on the three foundations of training, nutrition, and mindset. And for us, this applies whether we are talking about young players who looking to follow maybe in your footsteps and break through in elite sports, or young men who want to feel good about themselves, get strong, get jacked, have a good
Hmm.
mental health, and learn learn the good habits to help them perform better at school, university, and in life. So I want to talk more about those three foundations, starting off with nutrition. Um, as a good Frenchman, I've always loved food, and food has been a very big part of my life. But it's not until recently, learning to become a personal trainer and studying sports science, I'm taking my nutrition a lot more seriously, and I've been very fascinated by just how much it is affect my strength, my performance, and my body composition. And then you also look at sportsmen like Cristiano Ronaldo, Tom Brady, and how much they attribute their longevity in performing at such a high level. They attribute it to their approach to nutrition. So I'm curious to know, is nutrition something you're personally interested in as a way of getting those incremental gains that can make all the difference? Or do you just follow a simple nutrition program from your coaches?
I think it's definitely an area of my sport that's probably quite overlooked. I personally, been given every leaflet under the sun in terms of information from my coaches over the years. But like, I went through a stage of like counting calories, and I think for me that wasn't necessarily the most productive because I get too bogged down in it all. But I think I try and be on top of it quite a lot. Obviously through the season, the biggest struggle for me is keeping weight on. So I'm not exactly worried about eating the cleanest a lot of the time. I'm just trying to keep my food intake fairly high. I Yeah, I definitely try and prep my meals so like I'm not missing meals, not skipping meals, not eating junk. I think is probably my biggest one. I try and stay away from processed stuff quite heavily. But like I said, I don't go over the top on it.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of like supplements, I've always been a big user of creatine. That's um that's been a pretty big staple through the last 4 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
Um, and I know I personally do notice a difference. I know some people really struggle whether they're like non-responders, but I think that's just up to each individual to figure out basically. But and then obviously protein powders is the other one. Um, I'm not as hot on. Like I use them when it's useful for me, but
Yeah.
I notice a lot of the time, like I tend to be able to get it through food. General, like genuine actual food is
Yeah.
pretty good for me. Like last night, for example, I had like a rice, steak, veg bowl, and I ate quite late, and I was going to bed about half an hour later, and thought, oh, is it worth me having a protein shake now? And like it boils down to I just didn't think it was worth it
Yeah.
in that sense because I get a decent amount through food and but if like I'm trying to put a lot of weight on at the time I'll try and get shakes in and with like oats and bananas and stuff in between my meals.
Okay.
But definitely.
Um, and so, I mean, you mentioned that for in the year you're trying to just keep maintain that weight. At the moment in preseason, is this still the same goal, or are you trying to lose or gain some weight?
What came into preseason probably on the heavier side than I ever have been. So I've spent probably the last 5 weeks or so trying to just keep it below that balance so that like the fat's stripping off, but I'm not wasting away basically. So I think I'm currently at a good state now where I'm just going to try and maintain this throughout the year, which is it's always very tough because like especially with BUCS, you're playing every Wednesday pretty much throughout the year, and that's definitely a big toll on like the meters I'm running and the calories I'm burning. So definitely got to eat big to keep any size.
Of course, yes. Let's dive a bit into your training. Uh, I'm not necessarily talking about your rugby specific skill and technical training, but
Hmm.
more of your strength and conditioning training program. From a young age, you've always had a vast amount of strength. I remember seeing you lifting way over 100 kg in your squats and your deadlifts when you were only 16. So, have you always just enjoyed it, or were you just focused on how important it was for your rugby?
Mm, I think they definitely go hand in hand. Like if I wasn't playing rugby, I'd probably go into powerlifting. Um, I'd love to try that, but I've always enjoyed it, definitely. But I think you always tend to enjoy stuff you're better at.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
no, it's definitely a big part. Like I was noticed this like the other day. I don't think for the past 6 years I've gone into the gym and just thought, oh, I'm gonna do this today, or than this. I've always followed a program written by someone that's paid to write them, like, whether it's one of my coaches or the head of S&C now, and like I don't know, I always really enjoy it. Like although I'm kind of built for the gym, nice short arms, short legs, so
Yeah,
definitely helps.
you've got the genetics for it. Yes, definitely. So, what's your current strength program looking like right now in the preseason?
Well, we just finished a oh, got to think now. Just finished a strength block.
Okay.
So was it strength block? Yeah, just finished like a strength block and kind of going into a power block now. I'm currently in my two. I got a couple weeks off, so I've taken this week off, and I'm gonna start getting back into it next week in kind of prep to jump back in properly. But I know we always hit a lot of compound movements, like hex bar, deadlifts, or squats, dumbbell bench, shoulder press, and yeah, we've been because it's pre-season and we've got a lot of time to recover. We've currently been doing morning and evening gym sessions.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we'll get in, have breakfast, and then jump into like an uppers, and then train, and then after lunch or so, we'll be able to jump in and do a lowers, um, which is definitely the most load I've ever done in the gym. Um,
It's very intense. Yes.
yeah, just because it allows us to train properly and get like a decent fatigue in the muscles. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
fair
no,
enough. And is there much of a? I mean, I'm guessing there is, but is there much of a difference between the training on during the season and off season and pre-season?
yeah. So like I said, we just finished that block of strength, and then
Yeah.
moving into like more of a power phase now. So like the reps have tanked, trying to get way more explosive, and get like just really pushing like heavy weights, trying to get those fast twitch fibers flying. But yeah, no, moving into that now, and then as the season hits, it would just be focused on like maintaining strength basically,
Yeah.
because we're not trying to beat any records in season. Um, like if I can go into these and come out just as strong as I went in, that's kind of
That's what you need.
that's the goal achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just staying consistent, and
Yeah.
that's
No, fair enough.
yeah.
Have you ever been interested in the bodybuilding aspect of training? Because I know you said powerlifting, but what about the bodybuilding aspect?
Oh, it does fascinate me. Sometimes you look at yourself and think, how big could I physically get? Because
Yeah.
I think it'd look immense to be honest. But I think I realized probably like 18, 19 that size isn't always conducive to performance, especially for
Yes.
me. Like I've got quite a small frame, so when I put on more size, I just get slower and clunky. So I kind of took the approach of like just be as strong as possible and like size comes and goes. If I can move well, I'll kind of keep the size. But no, I definitely like to try and look aesthetic, but there's only so much I can do when I'm trying to like keep weight on. And, yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. No, no, that makes
and
sense. Let's. I want to touch a bit more on that pre-season. So you spoke about your training already, how sometimes you do 2 sessions a day. Would that be a typical training day in the pre-season, or do you have a norm that you do most days of most days?
yeah, I think it was the norm for like the first block of training that we did, the first like 4 or
Yeah.
5 weeks, and then now we're phasing into like one session a day, like I think it was doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then like Thursday. No, sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, and then Friday again.
Okay.
But yeah, with each of those being different areas of what they're trying to hit, like whether it's just posterior chain or like an upper session.
Yeah.
Um, but and that's probably more realistic to what we keep up with. I know that once my season starts, I'll be doing like Monday morning proper gym session, strength focus, and then Tuesday, like we try and do like a primer for the game day Wednesday. So it'll be like explosive movements, jumps and stuff,
Yeah.
and throws. And then Wednesday's a game, Thursday's a rest day, and then Friday will be another big strength session, and then potentially Saturday. There's also room for another one, but that's kind of player dependent.
So it's very heavy, um, a heavy week for you guys, for you rugby players. Um, And I mean, last question for preseason and also season. Is there a specific, maybe rugby skill, but also strength goal that you have in mind, getting quicker or being able to kick in that direction, passing, like you mentioned earlier, where you're passing? Is there a specific goal that you've given yourself, or maybe the coach came up to you and said, "Kofi, you need to work on this"?
Um, well, I know definitely over the last few seasons, my kicking's been a big goal we've been working on. The coaches said they just wanted me to be able to kick long,
Yeah,
straight, and far, and I've definitely improved on that. I'd say that I'm probably like an all right kicker. Um, passing is one of those skills that can always get better. Like
of
there's
course.
it's never perfect, and mine's definitely included in that. I don't know, my speed personally, I think I'd like to get faster. I'm
Yeah.
trying to do some work with some of the coaches on my speed technique. Because I seem to run despite my speed, I tend to run quite inefficiently. So we're looking to try and improve that. And then in terms of gym strength, I'd want to try. I think my strength is currently it's peaked probably last year, and now it's kind of on a down. It's been on a bit of a down curve. Just I think more of a because I had a longer season this year with the England student stuff. I was more of my guess, so I kind of want to get back to like my peak numbers in season, see if I can start pushing to like a 150 bench and like a 200 squat, which I've hit already, but it was a box squat, so I want to hit like a 200 kg normal squat. Um, that's like my
200
personal.
kg. That is your. I'm not gonna say my number because it's embarrassing. The comparison is. No. Let's not go there. We
No,
won't
but
talk about my numbers.
you gotta look at it in a fairly though. Like I compare my numbers to some of the other boys, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a bit different. Like I've seen someone rep out 230 for 3 or 4 reps. So yeah, there's definite levels. Like you're always looking up at someone.
Yeah. Of course. Always. There's always someone better. Anyways. Let's talk about that last foundation, which is mindset. Let's talk about developing a winning mindset and having a good, strong mental health. How important is self-belief, and have you always had it?
Um, I say it is very important, and I'm probably no. I don't think I've always had it.
Yeah.
I often doubt myself or come away from my games looking back at them very negatively. Uh, Definitely having like a good surrounding group of like a support network, I suppose, is definitely helpful for that because like I do game reviews with my coaches, and he's banned me from saying negative things as my first 3 points of because I'd come back from a game. Um, I came off the pitch of one of our games, and I was kind of like really annoyed at the game because I thought I'd had like a pretty sub-average performance,
Yeah.
and and then it's like, but I get voted like man of the match in that game, and like I don't know, my personal outlook on games is often quite negative,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely got to have a bit of cockiness in your inner self, not necessarily outwardly, but almost like the fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes sense.
I showed up to uni saying I wanted to play in the first team, which is pretty. If you anyone at uni's there, they'll know that's pretty outrageous as a fresher,
Especially
um,
at Exeter, especially
especially at Exeter.
one of the
Yeah,
best university teams out there.
yeah, it's definitely not a goal I'd recommend to anyone coming to uni.
Yeah.
I I I did manage to achieve it, but I feel like it's it's definitely got to have some level of self-belief to you that you like,
Yeah.
no, I can do this.
I agree. It's very important. And what about uh, a winning mindset? What is a winning mindset for you?
I think it kind of boils down to just knowing what you are capable of. Like, I know the highest I've achieved, and I know that that is I am up to the standard of the league. So whenever I'm on pitch, you got to try and like beat out that get rid of that imposter syndrome, like, and allow yourself to like back yourself to be on the pitch or to be there, like even whether it's wherever you are. Like
Yeah.
if you're able to step on pitch, you're good enough to be there.
Hmm.
Otherwise,
No,
you
that's
wouldn't be in
good.
the team.
I like it. That's a good winning mindset. So you're obviously a very motivated, driven guy, but I want to talk about who and what has helped shape this drive. Who who have been the biggest influences in your sporting career?
I don't know. That's who's been my biggest influences. What, like a role model, like I've looked
Well,
up to, or pulled me
it could
along the
be
way.
it could be anyone. Like, any any. Is there any nuggets of important advice that maybe a parent, influential coach gave you, or that you've read on social media or heard in a
Hmm.
podcast, anything of the sort that helped you through your career, through your rugby?
Yeah, well, I think definitely like a lot of the head coaches I've had growing up, like Gary, my first head coach at Froome, still follows my journey currently. Still very heavily invested in how I'm doing. Um, and like any coach that's really taken like a personal aspect to it and it's like I'm gonna get this player better, has really helped. Like Alex Burns at school has been is one of those also. But I think like it seems odd to say, but players around you in like other teams.
Yes.
So when I'm training, I've got like a mental list of like 3 or 4 players, like the top ones, like where I want to be, and then the bottom one is definitely like I'm better than him. I'm going to outperform this guy every training
Yeah.
session, and then those middle two are like that's probably where I'm at now.
Okay.
Let's try and beat them. So it's like having that kind of mindset of like looking at people and being like, not necessarily whether they're because they're going to help you improve, and
Yeah.
like even if they're improving, you're still improving, and that's a good thing at the end of the day. So whether I'm doing extras with them at the end of training or like just when I see them running and looking tired, I'm just running faster. I suppose
Yeah.
having people like that's definitely helpful.
No, of course. I mean, let's dive a bit more into your who motivated you and influenced you. I want to know, because behind every, I mean, specifically in sports, behind every great player, there's always there's someone or something that clicked, that pushed them into saying, okay, I want to prove that person wrong, or I want to prove this person that I can do this. Is there something like that, with your story? Do you have maybe something or someone that drove you to put that extra effort in the gym, or put that extra effort after a training session this day for a bit longer?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think especially like if those who probably don't know, I'm like one of the more vertically challenged men out there, especially on the rugby pitch. But I don't know I've always had a lot of chat about me being quite small. I still get it now. BUCS is quite ruthless in the crowds and their chants. It's always entertaining. But yeah, like I am always being told I'm too small for rugby, too short. Um, so that definitely is not necessarily one person, but that's definitely a stigma that definitely drives you to work out harder in the gym. But I think probably it's probably more positive impacts that have pushed me to want to work.
Yeah, of course.
It's just probably been more better than the negative ones for me. Like my mum's always been a huge supporter of me.
Yeah,
She's always and like it's almost like I've come this far. I'd be ashamed to just let her down. Like all those rugby sessions she's driven me to, those late
yeah,
nights coming back. It'd be silly for me to just like, half-ass it basically. So yeah, she's definitely a strong one, I'd say.
yeah. No, that's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, she's watched many of your games. Didn't she come to the game in France?
Yeah, she came to
Yeah,
France.
exactly.
They drove down to France. She drove up to London to watch the final. She'll come down to
Yeah.
Exeter to watch my games. She even made my dog a Exeter Uni Rugby Club jersey thing for him to wear.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
yeah,
That is amazing. Well, I mean, well, that's great. Respect to your mum then, for helping you and driving you to the success. Do you have any sporting heroes, maybe in rugby or other sports?
um, hmm, I feel like I don't know. I always, as a kid, I remember watching Anthony Watson. He
Yeah.
was definitely one of the main players I watched growing up. But I don't know if there's too many other professional like athletes that I'd follow that closely. He was definitely one that I liked the way he worked and like his mindset towards improving. Um, but no, I've never been a huge like extrinsic
Yeah.
motivated person, if that makes sense. I
Oh,
just
okay.
but yeah, no, it's an interesting one because I know a lot of people have like direct role
Yeah.
models they look up to. But I know I tend to keep them like achievable, if that makes sense. So I have a role model of someone in a certain position, like they're playing in a certain team that I want to be at, where I could potentially be playing in that team in the next year or two. And I think
Yeah.
that serves me more purpose for me personally because I'd be able to achieve it and then set a new like keep moving the goalposts as I achieve them.
Okay. Okay. So would I mean maybe not sportsmen, but do you have any influential people? It could be philosophers. It could be what people call celebrities that you follow on social media in terms of just I don't know, comparing yourself to them, or like you said, you trying to
Mm.
be at that level or get to their level.
Yeah, no, well, who would I think of? I think like career wise,
Yeah,
I love what James Haskell's done.
yeah,
Um, always like I like the idea of building a brand around himself,
yeah.
and
That's brilliant.
setting
That
himself up
that's
quite well with that, or even and then post rugby being able to still be involved in it and still have that
yeah.
career, which I think he's done very well. So I think yeah, that's definitely an aspect I look up to.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's done quite well. I really want to know this. This is my question. I'm interested to know whether you have a pre-game ritual and what it looks like to get into the right, headspace, mindset to get ready for war. Go to battle.
Yeah, how would I describe it? I suppose there's a few little things like people notice that I walk around in my sliders quite a lot. I keep my boots off until like the last possible moment. Um, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of symbolized in my head like putting my like tying up my laces as like a key switch on. As in like once these are tied up, I'm walking out for the
This
warm
is it.
up and then bottom on it. Or like I yeah, and that's it's a silly little one that but I don't know. I just try and eat. I always tend to eat like a comfort meal the night before, try and get a good amount of sleep, eat like a bolognese or something. Um, I keep it nice and simple.
Yeah.
Um, and then scrambled eggs and a bagel for breakfast. And yeah, I try and do that. That's a bit of caffeine as well. Goes a long way, I find.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
definitely. But like I don't know, these aren't always the end of the world because you have to learn to break them.
Yeah.
Like we have away days where I was staying in a hotel before and you don't get the breakfast you want or whatnot. So yeah, I try and do what I can. Like sometimes I might just take a meal prep with me on an away day because I know I might not like the food that they do at the hotel or something. So I know it's little things that I do to combat, but like you definitely got to fold on some of them.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I like it. And then moving on to mental health. Training for me, getting to the gym consistently, especially very recently this year, has played a very significant role in my mental health, in achieving that sense of balance where you're not overexcited or not stimulated at all. So how do you relax and achieve that balance? Do you have any hobbies that help you foster this?
Mm. Yeah, I think rugby has become one of them, weirdly
Yeah,
enough. That once I come off the pitch, I'm very relaxed. It's definitely an escape for me. I don't know, I surprise people. I like to play a lot of chess online. That's an easy one to like relax with. And then I suppose over the last year, I've kind of been getting more lost in my degree, which has been it's a useful outlet,
yeah,
definitely. Because I have to get it done anyway. And it's definitely a switch off from rugby. It keeps my mind busy. But as long as there's something, I don't know, I find with keep it like you find with the gym, as long as I've got like a physical outlet that I'm like exerting my energy towards, then I tend to be pretty good, which like rugby does quite key for me. It's definitely a struggle in the off season. I try and get myself on a regular gym routine or
yeah,
running or literally anything that consistently gets me out the house.
yeah. No, it is very important. Um, you know, I think it's overlooked a lot of the time in the off season. Players will just stop playing They won't train, and they'll neglect their training and nutrition, and then you hear about these stories where mental health drops, and then
Yeah,
it
everything
affects
collapses.
performance. Yeah,
Yeah,
then they
like
don't have such a good year.
take Tyson Fury. He's got to be the biggest example out there.
Exactly.
As soon as because you spend the whole year in camp, in training, week in, week out, doing it, that when you get a holiday off, I think the first thing a lot of people do is just stop. Um, but in reality, it was the thing that was like keeping you going. It was, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely don't stay consistent. It's definitely a
Hmm.
bigger thing, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading something about it not long ago about the Olympic athletes. You know, they'll go to the Olympics, and then once they've won that gold medal, then
It's
they a lot of them fall into depression and
mm,
mental health issues and anxiety because they spent the last 4 years of their life working for this one thing, and then they've got it, and then that's it, it's
like,
over. So
yeah.
actually, you know, about that, I'm interested in know after you won that final and you won that game, you know, you've reached, like I said earlier on, you've reached the pinnacle of this of your career. I mean, for your age, it, you know, has there been an effect, or if there has, how have you dealt with it?
Um, Probably not because like I said about me being quite cynical, in my eyes, I've still not accomplished anything really, um, which is quite silly to say, I get, but like I still want to make a Premiership debut, a Prem Cup debut, get like a professional contract even. So
Yeah.
like coming off of that, I wouldn't say I've like made it. I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like there's definitely higher aspirations I want to achieve, and I think unless I'm like starting for 3 consecutive seasons for the Lions, I don't think I'll be happy in like happy with my accomplishments that
Yeah.
much.
No, I
So
mean,
there's definitely,
definitely.
but yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
bigger goalposts. But I don't know. Come back to me if I get a professional contract, and might
I
have a
will.
different
Yeah.
story for you.
I mean, hopefully, I mean, this time next year, hopefully, you'll be back on here with a professional contract and a whole new story to share to everyone.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it. You know, thank you very much, Kofi, for answering all these questions. Hopefully, someone out there who's listening will have a better understanding what what is needed to get to that level. So thank you for being here,
No,
and thank
thank
you
you.
for your
It's
time.
been brilliant.